Rohan was a young hiker who traveled from town to town with very little money. He did not own much beyond his backpack, a pair of worn-out boots, and a small notebook where he wrote down his observations about nature. Walking through forests, climbing hills, and camping under the stars gave him joy, but it was not always easy. Many days passed without enough food or a warm place to sleep. Yet Rohan loved the freedom of the open paths. One morning, after several days of walking through a dense forest, he found himself on a narrow trail that led to a small, quiet village. The sun was high, casting bright light on the fields and small houses. Birds chirped from the trees and the air smelled of fresh grass and earth. Rohan's stomach growled, reminding him he had only a few dry biscuits left. He realized he needed help soon. The village was small, with just a handful of houses, most of them old and wooden. Smoke rose from chimneys and the sound of children playing in the fields drifted through the air. As Rohan walked slowly along the dusty road, he noticed one house that looked particularly worn. Its paint was faded and the roof had several holes patched with old cloth. Outside, an elderly woman struggled to lift a broken wooden door that had fallen from its hinges. Rohan felt a pull in his chest. He had learned through his life in the wild that helping others brought a kind of peace that no adventure could. He approached the woman carefully, not wanting to startle her. "Excuse me," Rohan said. "Do you need help?" The woman turned and smiled weakly. Her face was lined with age and her hands trembled slightly. "Oh yes, young man," she said in a soft voice. "I cannot lift this door alone and it is very heavy. My hands are not strong enough," Rohan nodded. He did not have much experience with carpentry, but he could lift and carry things. "I can help you," he said. The woman's eyes brightened. "Thank you. My name is Mrs. Neela. Please be careful with the door." Rohan crouched beside the fallen door, testing its weight. It was heavier than he expected. Carefully, he positioned himself under one end while Mrs. Neela held the other. With a bit of effort, they managed to lift it back onto the hinges. It was crooked at first, but Rohan adjusted it until it moved freely. The old woman clapped her hands in delight. "You are very strong," she said. Not many young people would stop to help an old woman these days. Rohan smiled and wiped the sweat from his forehead. "I believe everyone deserves a little help when they need it," he said. Mrs. Neela invited him inside her small house. The floor was made of wooden planks that creaked with every step. Dust covered the shelves and a small fire flickered in the corner. A few simple chairs and a table completed the room. It was modest, but it had a sense of warmth that made Rohan feel comfortable immediately. "I don't have much food," Mrs. Neela said softly, "but I can give you some bread and tea if you are hungry." Rohan nodded gratefully. Hunger gnawed at him, and the idea of a warm drink was more appealing than anything else. As she prepared the bread and tea, Rohan looked around the room. He noticed the walls were covered with old photographs. One showed a younger Mrs. Neela standing beside a tall man. Another had a group of smiling children. Rohan could tell that family and memories were very important to her. "Who are they?" he asked, pointing to a photograph of the smiling children. "They were my grandchildren," Mrs. Neela said, her voice soft with nostalgia. "They do not live nearby. Life has carried them far away. I live alone now, and most days are quiet." Rohan nodded. He understood loneliness in a way. Although he was surrounded by nature and always meeting new people along his travels, he sometimes felt the quiet ache of solitude. Helping Mrs. Neela gave him a sense of connection he had not felt for a long time. After serving the bread and tea, Mrs. Neela settled into a chair and watched Rohan eat. He was careful to savor each bite. The bread was simple, but it was warm and filling. The tea was sweet, and it made him feel a little more energetic. "Rohan," Mrs. Neela said after a while, "if you are willing, there are other parts of the house that need repair. The roof has holes, and some boards in the floor are weak. I cannot afford a carpenter, but I can offer my gratitude and a warm meal." Rohan looked at the roof through a small window. The holes let in sunlight, and he imagined the rain pouring through them during a storm. He felt a responsibility to help. "I can try," he said. "It will take time, but I want to help." Mrs. Neela's face lit up. "Thank you, young man. You are very kind." Rohan spent the rest of the afternoon working carefully. He found some old nails and a hammer hidden in a drawer. He patched the roof as best as he could, using old boards to cover the holes. He moved slowly and cautiously, knowing that one wrong step could make things worse. As he worked, Mrs. Neela told him stories about the village. She spoke about festivals, the farmers who grew rice and vegetables, and the small markets where people traded goods. Rohan listened eagerly, enjoying the calm rhythm of the village life. By evening, Rohan had repaired the roof partially, and the door was working perfectly. Mrs. Neela looked at her house and smiled, tears glimmering in her eyes. "I cannot believe my house looks so good. You have done more than I could have imagined." Rohan felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He was tired. His hands were scratched and sore, but his heart was light. For the first time in many days, he felt a real sense of purpose. "Would you like to stay for dinner?" Mrs. Neela asked. "I have some vegetables and rice." "It is not much, but it is warm and fresh." Rohan nodded eagerly. The idea of a warm meal and a place to rest was too good to refuse. As they sat together, eating the simple meal, Mrs. Neela continued to share her stories. Rohan found himself laughing at her jokes and feeling more comfortable than he had in a long time. After dinner, Rohan stepped outside for a moment. The sky was painted with orange and pink hues as the sun set behind the mountains. He took a deep breath, inhaling the fresh air, and felt grateful for the strange path that had led him here. A few hours ago, he had been a tired and hungry hiker with no direction, and now he had a sense of purpose and a new friend in Mrs. Neela. He realized that sometimes the simplest acts of kindness, helping an old woman with her house, could bring unexpected joy and connection. It was a lesson he would carry with him on all his journeys. As night fell, Rohan lay down on a small mat Mrs. Neela had prepared for him. The soft sound of wind through the trees and the occasional call of an owl filled the night. He closed his eyes, feeling safe for the first time in days, and thought about what tomorrow might bring. He did not know yet that this small act of helping someone in need would lead to a series of events that would change his life forever. The morning sun shone brightly on the small village. Birds chirped loudly and the fields glistened with dew. Rohan woke up on the small mat Mrs. Neela had prepared for him. The air smelled fresh, carrying the scent of wet earth and flowers from nearby gardens. Stretching his tired limbs, Rohan realized that despite the soreness in his hands and arms from yesterday's work, he felt alive and energized. Helping Mrs. Neela had given him more than satisfaction. It had given him a sense of purpose. Mrs. Neela was already up, preparing breakfast. She had laid out a few simple items: fresh bread, some boiled eggs, and tea with a hint of honey. Rohan washed his hands at a small basin and sat down at the wooden table. "You slept well, I hope?" Mrs. Neela asked, pouring tea into a chipped cup. "Yes, thank you," Rohan replied. "I feel ready to help more today." The old woman smiled. "I am grateful for your help, Rohan. There is so much to do. The roof needs more repair. The floorboards in the living room are weak and some of the window frames are broken. If you help me, I can finally have a safe home." Rohan nodded. He could feel the weight of responsibility, but it was not a burden. He had come to understand that sometimes helping others was more rewarding than any adventure he could imagine. After breakfast, he stepped outside to inspect the roof. The sun was warm and a gentle breeze cooled the air. Mrs. Neela handed him a small toolbox that had nails, a hammer, a saw, and a few spare boards. Though the tools were old and slightly rusted, they were usable. Rohan climbed carefully onto the roof, balancing himself against the fragile boards. As he worked, Mrs. Neela stayed near the house, sweeping the porch and chatting with him. "You know, young man, this house was built by my husband many years ago. It has been through storms, winds, and heavy rains. It holds memories of our family," she said softly. Rohan paused for a moment, wiping sweat from his brow. "It must be special to you," he said. "Yes, it is," Mrs. Neela replied, her eyes distant as if she were recalling the past. "Sometimes it feels lonely without my family around. My children and grandchildren live far away, but when someone helps me, even a stranger, it feels like my house is alive again." Her words touched Rohan deeply. He adjusted the boards on the roof, feeling careful and precise. He knew that even a small mistake could make the repairs useless. As he worked, he imagined the stories the old woman had shared, a life full of love, family, and small joys. He realized that helping her was not just about fixing a house, it was about restoring hope. By midday, Rohan had patched most of the holes in the roof. Mrs. Neela's eyes sparkled with gratitude. "It looks wonderful," she said. "You have done so much already. I cannot thank you enough." Rohan climbed down from the roof, brushing dust from his clothes. He was tired, but he smiled. I enjoy helping. Your house is important and it deserves care. Mrs. Neela nodded. If you like, there is more work inside. The floorboards creak and some windows are broken. It may take hours, but I will guide you. Rohan agreed and they went inside. He inspected the floorboards carefully. Some were thin and weak, likely to break if anyone stepped on them. He removed the damaged boards and replaced them with the spare ones Mrs. Neela had found in a small closet. The work was slow, and his fingers got small cuts from splinters, but he continued patiently. While he worked, Mrs. Neela shared more stories. She talked about the small village, its festivals, and the kind people who lived there. She mentioned how villagers often helped each other, even when times were tough. Rohan listened closely, feeling a connection not just to Mrs. Neela but to the life of the village itself. By the afternoon, the house was starting to feel stronger. The roof was stable, the floor was secure, and even the small broken windows were replaced with old panes that let in sunlight. Rohan stepped back and admired the changes. Mrs. Neela's face was full of joy. You have done more than I could have imagined, she said. I thought my house would fall apart, but you have given it new life. Rohan smiled. I only did what I could. It feels good to see it better. Just as he was resting, a young woman appeared at the gate. She wore a simple dress and carried a basket. Her hair was tied back neatly and her eyes were curious. Grandmother? She called. Mrs. Neela turned and waved. Anya, you are here. The young woman walked up the path quickly. I came to check on you, she said. I heard you needed help. Her eyes widened when she saw Rohan. Who is this? This young man is Rohan, Mrs. Neela explained. He helped me repair my house yesterday and continues to help today. He has worked hard and has a kind heart. Anya studied Rohan for a moment. You repaired the house yourself? She asked. Rohan nodded. Yes, with her guidance. I may not have much experience, but I tried my best. Anya smiled warmly. That is very kind of you. Most people would walk by and ignore an old house. You stayed and helped. That is rare these days. Rohan felt a small blush of pride. I believe that helping is always better than doing nothing, he said simply. Mrs. Neela invited Anya inside, and they all sat down for a small afternoon meal. Rohan was offered tea and fresh bread. Anya chatted with him, asking about his travels and the places he had seen. Rohan shared small stories of forests, mountains, and streams he had crossed. Anya listened intently, laughing at some of his adventures and gasping at the dangers he had faced. After the meal, Anya made an unexpected suggestion. Grandmother, Rohan seems very capable. Perhaps he can stay for a while and help with the farm and other chores. I have been thinking of hiring someone, and he is already skilled. Rohan felt a mixture of surprise and hesitation. He had never expected such an offer. He was a wandering hiker, used to moving from place to place with little concern for long-term plans. But the thought of a steady place to rest, food to eat, and an opportunity to learn more skills was tempting. Mrs. Neela looked at Rohan, her eyes full of hope. Rohan, if you wish, you are welcome. You can help me and Anya, and we will make sure you have food and a safe place to stay. Rohan thought carefully. He did not have much and he was used to surviving on his own, but staying here could give him stability he had never known. He nodded. I will stay. I can help with the farm and house chores. It will also be good for me to learn new things. Anya smiled widely. Wonderful. Then tomorrow we will start work on the farm. There is much to do and your help will be appreciated. That evening, Rohan helped Mrs. Neela light a small lantern for the house. The soft light cast gentle shadows across the walls, making the house feel warm and alive. He sat on the porch for a while, watching the sunset over the fields. The sky was painted in shades of orange and purple, and the wind carried the scent of fresh earth. He felt a quiet joy he had never experienced in his solitary travels. As he lay down to sleep that night, Rohan realized something important. Helping others not only made life better for them, but also for him. It brought a sense of belonging and purpose that he had been missing. He thought about the days ahead, the work on the farm, and the bonds he could form with Mrs. Neela and Anya. For the first time in his life, he felt that perhaps wandering was not the only way to find happiness. Little did Rohan know that his decision to stay, and his simple act of kindness in helping an old woman, would lead to life-changing events. Opportunities, friendships, and challenges were waiting for him, ready to unfold in ways he could not imagine. The next morning, Rohan woke to the soft light of dawn spilling through the small window of Mrs. Neela's house. The air was cool and fresh, carrying the scent of flowers from the nearby garden. He stretched his arms and felt a small ache in his muscles from the work he had done on the house the day before. Despite the soreness, he felt a sense of purpose and determination. Today, he would begin helping with the farm, as Anya had suggested. Mrs. Neela was already awake, tending to the fire and preparing breakfast. The table was laid with fresh bread, a few boiled eggs, and a small bowl of fruit. Rohan joined her, grateful for the warm food. "Good morning, Rohan," Mrs. Neela said with a gentle smile. "Anya will arrive soon. She wants to show you the farm and explain what needs to be done." Rohan nodded, finishing his breakfast quickly. He felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He had helped with the house, but farm work was new to him. He had seen fields from afar, but had never worked in one. Before long, Anya arrived carrying a small basket of tools. She wore a simple dress and tied her hair back neatly. "Good morning," she said brightly. "I hope you are ready for a full day of work." Rohan smiled. "I am ready. I want to learn." Anya led him across a narrow path to the farm behind the house. The farm was small but full of potential. Rows of vegetables stretched across the field, and a few chickens wandered near the wooden fence. There were patches of soil ready for planting, and some areas needed watering and weeding. Rohan could see immediately that there was a lot of work to do. "This is your first lesson," Anya said. "We will start with planting seeds and watering the soil. Later, I will show you how to take care of the animals and maintain the farm equipment." Rohan took the watering can and began carefully sprinkling water over the soil. The sun was warm and the sound of birds and insects filled the air. He worked steadily, learning how to plant seeds at the correct depth and space them evenly. Anya guided him patiently, correcting his mistakes and showing him proper techniques. By midday, they had planted a large portion of the farm. Rohan's arms ached from lifting watering cans and bending over the soil, but he felt proud. The sun was bright overhead, and the sweat on his forehead reminded him of the hard work he had done. Anya noticed his tired expression. "You're doing very well, Rohan. Farm work is not easy, but you have strong hands and a good spirit." Rohan smiled, wiping his brow. "Thank you, Anya. I have never done this before, but I enjoy learning. It feels good to see the farm improving." After a short break, Anya introduced him to the animals. There were chickens, ducks, and a small goat. Rohan learned how to feed them, collect eggs, and clean their pens. It was challenging, but he discovered that caring for animals gave him a quiet satisfaction. The animals seemed to respond to his gentle touch, and he felt a bond growing between them. As the day progressed, Rohan and Anya worked together to repair a small fence that had been damaged by the wind. They hammered wooden posts into the ground, tied them with rope, and strengthened the wire mesh. It was hard labor, but Rohan felt a sense of accomplishment as the fence stood strong, protecting the garden from wandering animals. During their work, Mrs. Neela often came out to watch, bringing water and small snacks for both of them. She smiled as she observed Rohan's dedication. "You are like a member of the family now," she said. "I feel so fortunate that you have come into our lives." Rohan felt a warm happiness in his chest. He had spent much of his life traveling alone, facing hunger and challenges every day. Yet here he was part of something bigger, a home, a family, and a purpose. As evening approached, Rohan and Anya finished their tasks for the day. The sun dipped low over the hills, casting long shadows across the fields. The farm looked healthier, more organized, and full of life. Rohan felt tired but satisfied. Anya handed him a basket of vegetables they had harvested. "These are for tonight's meal," she said. "You have earned them with your hard work." Rohan carried the basket back to the house, smiling. Mrs. Neela had already prepared a simple but hearty meal. They sat together, enjoying the fresh vegetables, bread, and tea. The conversation flowed easily. Mrs. Neela shared stories from her youth. Anya talked about the city and her work, and Rohan recounted his travels and adventures. Laughter filled the small house, and Rohan felt a sense of belonging he had never known before. After dinner, Rohan went outside for a moment to enjoy the cool evening air. The stars twinkled in the sky, and the village was quiet except for the occasional sound of an animal or the rustle of leaves. He thought about his life before he arrived at this village, wandering, lonely, and uncertain, and he realized how much it had changed. Helping Mrs. Neela and working on the farm had given him a new perspective. He saw the value of hard work, friendship, and kindness. Even a small effort could make a big difference in someone's life. He felt grateful for the opportunity to be part of this household and village. That night, as he lay on his mat, Rohan reflected on his day. He thought about the bonds he had formed with Mrs. Neela and Anya, the animals he had cared for, and the plants he had helped grow. It was a simple life, yet it was full of meaning and satisfaction. He realized that happiness was not just about traveling or adventure. It was about connection, purpose, and making a positive impact. The next morning, Rohan woke with renewed energy. He was determined to continue helping Mrs. Neela and Anya, to learn as much as he could about farming, and to contribute to the household. He knew the work would be challenging, but he was ready. Over the following days, Rohan's skills improved rapidly. He learned how to plant new crops, repair broken tools, and care for the animals more efficiently. Anya guided him patiently, and Mrs. Neela offered encouragement and praise. The three of them worked together as a team, and the farm began to flourish. Rohan also began to notice small changes in himself. He felt stronger, more confident, and more capable. He enjoyed the rhythm of daily life, the satisfaction of completing tasks, and the joy of helping others. The villagers began to recognize him as a hard-working and kind young man, and he earned their respect and friendship. One afternoon, while Rohan was repairing a small fence near the edge of the farm, Anya approached him with a thoughtful expression. "Rohan," she said, "I have an idea. Your skills are very valuable. If you're willing, I can introduce you to some villagers who need help with their farms and homes. It will give you more experience and maybe even some small rewards for your work." Rohan paused for a moment, considering the offer. He had never thought about working for others or receiving payment. Yet the idea of helping more people, learning new skills, and earning a little money seemed exciting. "I would like that," he said finally. "I want to continue helping and learning." Anya smiled brightly. "Then we will start tomorrow. There are many opportunities, and I believe you will do well." That night, as Rohan lay on his mat, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had discovered that kindness, hard work, and friendship could open doors to new experiences and opportunities. He realized that helping someone in need, like Mrs. Neela, could lead to unexpected and wonderful outcomes. Rohan closed his eyes, thinking about the days ahead. He knew challenges would come, but he also knew he was not alone. He had Mrs. Neela and Anya by his side, and together they could face anything. For the first time in his life, he felt truly at home. Rohan had been living in the small village for several weeks now. Each morning, he woke up to the soft sunlight spilling into Mrs. Neela's house and the sound of birds chirping in the nearby fields. Life was simple, but it was full of purpose. He had grown stronger from the physical labor, more skilled from learning to tend the farm and care for the animals, and more confident in himself with each passing day. One morning, Anya arrived earlier than usual. She had a bright expression on her face and carried a small notebook in her hands. "Rohan," she said, "I have something exciting to show you today." Rohan wiped the sweat from his forehead after finishing his morning chores and followed Anya across the farm. She led him to a corner of the property he had not explored much. There, partially hidden behind tall grass and old wooden boards, was an old shed. Its roof was caved in and the walls were cracked. "This shed belonged to my grandfather," Anya explained. "It has been abandoned for many years. I thought it might not be useful anymore, but I discovered something yesterday that made me think it could be important." Rohan looked at the shed. It seemed fragile and unsafe, yet curiosity sparked inside him. "What did you discover?" he asked. Anya opened her notebook and showed Rohan a sketch she had made. It was a map of the shed and the surrounding area. "I found some old documents hidden under the floorboards," she said. "They mention a small treasure, a collection of valuable tools, books, and some seeds for rare plants. It belonged to my grandfather, and it was meant to help whoever cared for the farm. I thought maybe together we can find it and use it wisely." Rohan's eyes widened. He had never seen a treasure like this before. Not gold or jewels, but something practical that could help the farm grow and improve life for Mrs. Neela and Anya. He felt a surge of excitement and responsibility. "We can find it," he said firmly. Let's do it carefully. We don't want to damage anything. They spent the morning cleaning around the shed and clearing the overgrown grass. The sun rose high in the sky, but neither of them minded the heat. Rohan carefully lifted the wooden boards that covered the floor. Beneath them, they discovered a small trapdoor hidden from view. With great care, they opened the trapdoor. Inside was a wooden chest covered with dust and cobwebs. Rohan gently brushed the dust away and lifted the lid. Inside, they found a collection of old farming tools, several small bags of seeds, and a few leather-bound books. Each item was preserved carefully, as if waiting for someone to discover it. Mrs. Neela joined them shortly afterward. Her eyes grew wide when she saw the chest. "I cannot believe this," she whispered. "These were my husband's most important belongings. He always wanted them to be used to improve the farm and help others. I never thought they would still be here." Rohan carefully examined the tools and books. The tools were sturdy and strong, far better than the ones they had been using. The books contained instructions for planting rare crops, caring for animals, and building small structures. Even the seeds were unique, capable of growing vegetables and herbs that could help sustain the household and even provide extra food for the village market. "This is amazing," Rohan said. "We can use these tools and seeds to improve the farm. We can plant new crops and share some with the villagers." Mrs. Neela's face lit up with joy. "Yes, this is exactly what my husband would have wanted. Rohan, you have helped us find hope and new possibilities." The rest of the day was spent carefully organizing the contents of the chest. Rohan and Anya cleaned the tools, labeled the seeds, and studied the books together. They realized that with these resources, the farm could grow far more than it had before. They could feed themselves, sell some produce in the village market, and even help other villagers improve their farms. As evening approached, they sat on the porch of Mrs. Neela's house, exhausted but happy. The sky was painted in shades of pink and gold, and the cool breeze carried the scent of fresh soil and growing plants. Rohan felt a deep satisfaction that he had never known before. He realized that helping Mrs. Neela and Anya had led him to something truly meaningful. "I never imagined that helping someone could bring such a reward," Rohan said softly. "It's not about money or recognition, it's about making a difference and creating something that lasts." Anya smiled at him. "You are right, Rohan, and you have shown us how important kindness and hard work are. Without you, we might never have discovered this treasure." Mrs. Neela nodded, her eyes glistening with tears. "You came into our lives at the perfect time. Your help has changed everything. Our farm, our home, and even our hearts are brighter now." The following days were filled with excitement and hard work. Rohan, Anya, and Mrs. Neela planted the rare seeds, repaired parts of the farm using the new tools, and organized the old books into a small library. Villagers came to see the progress and offered their help. Some shared tips while others lent extra materials. Slowly, the farm began to flourish, producing healthy vegetables, fruits, and herbs. Rohan enjoyed every moment of it. He worked from sunrise to sunset, but each task gave him a sense of purpose and pride. He learned new skills every day, from planting techniques to basic construction and even preparing natural remedies from herbs. He also grew closer to Mrs. Neela and Anya. Their bond was no longer just about work. It was about trust, friendship, and mutual respect. One afternoon, while Rohan was repairing a small fence near the vegetable garden, Anya approached him with a thoughtful expression. "Rohan," she said, "I think you have done more for us than anyone else could. We want to show our gratitude. Tomorrow there is a village meeting, and we will introduce you to everyone. They will see your hard work and kindness, and I believe they will appreciate you as much as we do." Rohan felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. He had never sought recognition, but he realized that being appreciated by the community felt good. "I will do my best," he said quietly. That evening, after the chores were done, Mrs. Neela handed Rohan a small cup of tea. "Rohan," she said, "I want you to know that your presence here has brought more than just help. You have brought hope, joy, and life back into this home. You are a true friend." Rohan felt warmth spread through his chest. He had always believed that traveling alone was enough to make him happy, but now he understood the true value of friendship, trust, and helping others. He realized that the journey he had begun months ago had led him to a place far more meaningful than any mountain or forest he had seen. As night fell, Rohan sat outside on the porch, gazing at the stars. The farm was quiet except for the soft sounds of animals settling for the night and the rustle of leaves in the wind. He thought about the treasure they had discovered and how it had changed their lives. It was not gold or jewels. It was something far more valuable: the opportunity to grow, to help, and to create a future. Rohan knew that life in the village would not always be easy. There would be challenges, storms, and hard days ahead, but he felt ready. He had friends, a purpose, and a sense of belonging. He had learned that even the smallest acts of kindness, helping an old woman repair her house, could lead to incredible and unexpected outcomes. That night, as he lay down to sleep, Rohan felt a quiet excitement. The future was full of possibilities, and he was no longer alone. He had found a place where he could grow, learn, and make a difference. And he knew that whatever happened next, he would face it with courage, hard work, and a kind heart. The sun rose slowly over the village, casting warm golden light on the fields. Rohan awoke feeling a sense of excitement he had not felt before. Life in the small village had changed him in ways he could not have imagined. From a wandering hiker struggling for food and shelter, he had become an important part of Mrs. Neela and Anya's household. He had helped repair the house, tend the farm, care for the animals, and discover the hidden treasure of tools and seeds. But little did he know that something even more remarkable was about to happen. That morning, a letter arrived at Mrs. Neela's doorstep. A young boy from the village delivered it, holding it carefully in his hands. Mrs. Neela opened it and gasped softly. She handed it to Anya, who read the contents with wide eyes. Then she looked at Rohan, her face full of astonishment. "Rohan," she said, "this letter is from a distant relative of my husband. They heard about the condition of our house and how it was being restored. They want to help us further. They have sent money for repairs and improvements, and they also want to thank the young man who helped so much." "That's you." Rohan was shocked. He had never expected anything beyond a simple place to stay and the satisfaction of helping. Yet now this unexpected gesture promised to change everything. Mrs. Neela and Anya invited him to sit with them while they read the letter aloud in detail. The letter explained that the relative had learned about Mrs. Neela's situation through the village elders. They admired the courage, dedication, and kindness of the young hiker who had helped repair the old house. As a reward, they were sending funds to fully repair and renovate the house. They also included a small gift for Rohan, enough money to buy tools, clothes, and supplies for himself. Rohan felt a mixture of amazement, gratitude, and disbelief. He had never imagined that a simple act of helping someone could lead to such an incredible outcome. His heart was full of warmth, knowing that his efforts were appreciated far beyond what he had expected. The rest of the day was filled with activity. Villagers came to help with the renovation, bringing materials and offering their skills. Carpenters repaired the roof fully, painters repainted the walls, and masons reinforced the foundation. Rohan worked alongside them, using the new tools he had received to help wherever he could. The transformation of the house was remarkable. What had once been an old, fragile home was now sturdy, clean, and welcoming. As the renovation progressed, Rohan noticed something else that brought him joy. Villagers began stopping by to see the improvements, offering their congratulations and sharing their happiness. They admired the work Rohan had done and the way he had helped Mrs. Neela and Anya. For the first time, Rohan felt a deep sense of belonging to a community. Anya also guided him in using the remaining money wisely. They bought additional seeds, improved the irrigation system for the farm, and purchased a few chickens and ducks to increase their food supply. The farm was thriving more than ever, and Rohan could see the tangible results of his hard work. One afternoon, while Rohan was repairing a small gate on the farm, Mrs. Neela approached him with a gentle smile. "Rohan," she said, "you have brought more than help and hard work. You have brought hope, happiness, and life back into this house. We want to thank you properly." Rohan shook his head. "I only did what anyone should do," he said humbly. "It was nothing extraordinary." Mrs. Neela's eyes glistened with emotion. "No, it was extraordinary. You cared when most people would not. You worked when others would have given up. You believed in kindness and action, and that is priceless." That evening, Anya suggested they hold a small celebration to thank Rohan. Villagers gathered outside the house, bringing food, flowers, and warm wishes. Children laughed and ran around, while adults shared stories of how Rohan's actions had inspired them. It was a joyful scene, and Rohan felt overwhelmed by the kindness and gratitude surrounding him. During the celebration, one of the village elders approached Rohan. "Young man," he said, "you have shown us the meaning of true generosity and courage. You came here with nothing, yet you gave everything to help an old woman and her family. You are a blessing to our village, and we are grateful for your presence." Rohan felt a lump in his throat. He had traveled far and faced many hardships, but nothing had prepared him for this feeling of acceptance and appreciation. It was more valuable than any treasure he could have imagined. After the celebration, Rohan sat with Mrs. Neela and Anya on the porch, watching the sunset over the fields. The sky was painted with brilliant colors reflecting off the newly repaired house and flourishing farm. The air was filled with the soft sounds of the evening, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of an owl, and the quiet murmur of villagers returning home. "Rohan," Anya said softly, "we want you to know that you are welcome here anytime. This is your home now as much as it is ours. You can continue helping us, learning new skills, and growing with the farm. We hope you will stay." Rohan smiled, feeling a sense of peace he had never known. "I will stay," he said. "This place, this family, and this village, it has become part of my life. I want to continue helping and being part of it." Mrs. Neela placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Your kindness has changed everything. Rohan, you have repaired more than a house. You have repaired hearts, brought hope, and reminded us all of the power of compassion." In the following weeks, Rohan settled fully into village life. He continued to work on the farm, care for the animals, and help with small repairs around the house. Villagers often asked for his help, and he gladly assisted them, teaching what he had learned and spreading the knowledge he gained from the books and tools in the hidden chest. The farm grew more abundant every day. The vegetables and herbs flourished, the animals thrived, and the house stood strong and welcoming. Rohan saw how his actions had created a ripple effect, inspiring others to care for the community and for one another. One morning, Mrs. Neela and Anya approached Rohan with a small package wrapped in cloth. "Rohan," Mrs. Neela said, "this is a gift for you. It is a token of our gratitude and respect." Rohan carefully unwrapped the package. Inside were a sturdy set of new tools, a notebook for recording his farm observations, and a small pouch of rare seeds. It was more than he could have hoped for, and he realized that his simple act of helping had led to something truly extraordinary. "Thank you," he said, feeling emotions welling up. "I never imagined that helping someone could bring so much happiness and opportunity." Anya smiled. "It is because your heart was pure and your actions were sincere. That is why life has rewarded you." As the sun set that evening, Rohan stood in the fields, looking at the flourishing farm, the strong house, and the smiling faces of Mrs. Neela, Anya, and the villagers. He thought about the journey that had brought him here, from a poor hiker struggling to survive to a valued member of a caring community. Rohan realized that life's greatest rewards were not gold or riches, but friendship, trust, purpose, and the ability to make a positive difference in the world. His heart was full of gratitude, and he knew that his life had changed forever. From that day on, Rohan continued to live in the village, helping Mrs. Neela, working with Anya, and sharing his knowledge with the community. The house remained strong, the farm flourished, and the village grew closer because of his actions. The villagers often spoke of the young hiker who came with nothing and left a legacy of kindness, hard work, and hope. Rohan had discovered a truth that he would carry with him always. When you help others without expecting anything in return, life often returns your kindness in ways you could never imagine. What started as a simple act of helping an old woman repair her house had turned into a life-changing journey, one full of friendship, purpose, and the unbelievable rewards of kindness. And so, Rohan's story became a legend in the village, a reminder that even the smallest acts of goodness can lead to the most extraordinary outcomes.